Topic number 4, it refers to data handling. So when we talk about data, we talk about information that we collect. And this information, then we are able to have some sort of insight, and we're able to draw conclusions from that information that we receive. So for example, if you wanted to know a little bit more about the students at EWC, so you'd want to know how many are registered, how many females, how many males, who, the level of absenteeism. You want to look at their marks, you want to look at their age. And from all of that information, which we refer to as the raw data, then you would look at specific information. So for example, you would want to see maybe if there's a relationship between those who attend class regularly and those who don't, and their marks. So are you able to draw a conclusion that those who attend class more perform much better than those students that don't attend class? So those are the type of ways that you can use information in order for you to be able to evaluate it and then draw conclusions from it. So once you have that data, all right, that data now you are able to then analyze it. And at level 2, we're going to look at discrete data and ungrouped data. By that, we're talking about data where the values are definite, all right? So as per the examples that you're seeing now. So now we're going to look at the central tendency of ungrouped data, and we'll also look at the measures of dispersion. So when you're calculating the mean, we want to understand what is the average. Okay, so what is the average value of my data set? So the mean you calculate it by adding all your values in your data set, and then you're dividing it by the number of values in your data set. So for example, with this one here, we have 5 values. Okay, so we're going to add all 5 values. So it will be 3 plus 3 plus 9 plus 11 plus 15. And we divide it by the total number of values, which is equals to 5. And from there, we are able to find the mean, which is 8,2. We can do the same for the second example. Again, to find the mean, all you do is you add all your values. Plus 18, and you divide it by 6. And you should be able to get the answer there. My apologies, I don't have my calculator on hand. And lastly, with number 3 as well, it's 11 values. So you add all 11 values together. Okay, so all of these values divided by 11. And that should tell you what the mean is. Then we calculate the median. So the median is the data value that lies in the middle of the data set. All right, once you have arranged the data in ascending order. So I've already done that for the purposes of the example, but you might find that in a question that you receive, the data might not be, or the values might not be in ascending order. So first things first, every single time before you calculate the median, make sure that your data is in ascending order. So if we look here, On example number 1, the number that's in the middle of the data set, all right, is number 9. So this one is fairly easy. My median here is equals to number 9. Okay. Let's go on to number 2. So number 2, you can see, okay, I have 1 point that side, 1 point on that side, 1 point this side, 1 point that side, and I have two values that are in the middle, which is my 6 and the 7. So when you have an even number of values in your data set, then the two middle values, you add them together and you divide them by 2. So you find the mean, the average. So here it's 6 plus 7 divided by 2. So this gives me my median is 6,5. Let's look at my third example. So my third example is I have 11 values, all right? So 11 values. If I divide this by 2, then it means that there's going to be 5 values on the one side and 5 values on the other side, and the one in the middle is going to be my median. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you count backwards as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the value that's in the middle here is going to be my median. All right. So my median here, therefore, is 65. Okay. Then we move on to the mode. All right. So the mode is the value that occurs frequently in my data set. So it's the one that has the highest frequency. Okay, so the one that occurs the most in my data set. If you have a look here at number 1, all right, there's one number that's being repeated twice, which is the number 3. So in this data set, my mode is going to be 3. If you look at number 2 here, are there any numbers that are being repeated? No, there aren't. So then it means that, all right, there isn't a mode in that data set. If we look at the last one as well, number 3, is there a number that's being repeated? Okay, the number that's being repeated the most, there isn't one. So therefore here, there's also no mode. So these 3 values, the mean, the median, and the mode, we use it to measure the central tendency of the data set. Then we move on to what we call measures of dispersion. The measures of dispersion basically tell you how the data is scattered. All right. So how do we calculate the range? The range is you take your highest value in your data subtracted by the lowest value in your data set. So here my range is 15 minus 3, okay, which is equals to 12. So that's my range. On the second one here, my highest value is 18. All right, and my lowest is 2. So it's 18 minus 2. So this gives me 16. The last one, my highest value is 98. So it's 98 minus my lowest value, which is 22. So here my range is 76. Okay, so when you look at your range, what this tells you is the one that's got the highest range, okay, tells you that the data here is more scattered than the data where the range is actually quite low. But it doesn't tell you anything about the distribution of the data. So how is it scattered about? Okay, here it just tells you that it's scattered. All right, so the values, there are extreme values here, whereas here it tells you that it's not as scattered, so the values are quite close to each other. You can even see here on the black, they're very close to each other, and in the green, but in the red you can see they're not so close, from 22 up to 98. Okay, but it doesn't tell you the distribution of the data, which is where the quartiles come in, and that will be in our next video.